Okay, boys and girls, we're ready to start our last video lesson for chapter 3. So today we're on the back page of your notes where it says 3-6 dividing a decimal by a decimal. It's going to be very similar to what we did in last time's video with just one specific change. Just a quick reminder, some math vocabulary words when we're working on things. The first number is going to be called our dividend, and that's going to go inside the house. Remember, the first number is always going to go in the house because it's the dividend. The dividend goes in. The second number is our divisor, and the divisor goes out of the house. Finally, the answer is going to be called the quotient, and that's going to be up on top of the division box. So just some quick review of math vocabulary. So let's go through some notes and practice here. So here's dividing a decimal by a decimal steps. So step number 1, rewrite the problem with the division box. Remember, the first number goes in the box, the second number goes out of the box. It does not matter which one's bigger or smaller or where the decimal points are. Okay, just first number automatically goes inside the house. Now, it's going to get a little bit more complicated with step 2. It says move the decimal point in the divisor. So let's fill in the word divisor on our notes. That's the outside number to the right to make it a whole number. So if I had a number like 5.2, I would move it over one time to the right to turn it into a whole number. So I'm going to turn 5.2 into 52. So step number 3 says move the decimal point on the dividend. So fill in the word dividend, that's our inside number, to the right the same number of places, and then up to the quotient. Remember, quotient is going to be our division problem answer. So if here I moved my decimal point over one time, whatever number was inside the house, I moved my decimal point over one time as well. If you notice, number 3 does not say I have to move it till it becomes a whole number. I move the same number of places as what I did in step number 2. Step number 4 says divide as usual. Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated than what we did before. So let's start doing some practice up here at the top. So we have our problem 10.5, 10 and 5/10 divided by 0.5 or 5/10. So what we need to do is we need to rewrite this with a division box. So let's write 10.5 on the inside because that's our dividend and our dividend goes in. Our second number is our divisor and that goes outside the house. So let's put 0.5 outside the house. So we completed step 1, we rewrote the problem. Again, step 2 is where it gets more complicated. It says move the decimal point in the divisor, the outside number, to the right to make it a whole number. So I'm going to take my decimal point, I'm going to move it over one time because now I have a whole number. So now I have a number of 5 outside the house. Now I need to move the decimal point on the inside of my house the same number of places. Since I moved it over one time outside, I move over one time inside. So my problem changed from being 10.5 divided by 0.5 to 105 divided by 5. So now it's like we're dividing with a whole number. So now we're going to divide just as we did yesterday. How many times can 5 go into 1? 0. So I'm going to put the 0 on top to remind myself that that's a placeholder there. So now I'm going to look at the first two numbers together. How many times can 5 go into 10? 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. I subtract and I bring down. How many times can 5 go into 5? Once. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 1, subtract. There's nothing left to bring down, and I have a 0 for my remainder, so I know I'm done with the problem. The only thing is, I'd have to bring my decimal point up just to make it officially 21 as my answer. So let's practice another one just to make sure you're understanding this before we end our video for today. So now I have a little bit more complicated a problem. So let's rewrite this again with a division box. My first number is the number that goes inside the house. That's our dividend. Our dividend goes in. So I'm going to write the 0.327, 327 thousandths is going to go inside. And my second number of 0.06 is going to go outside. Let's practice moving the decimal one more time. So my decimal point right now is starting all the way over there. I need to keep moving it until it becomes a whole number. If I move my decimal point over once, Did I make that into a whole number? No, because now it's 0.6, so that's not a whole number. So I need to move it over one more time. So I would move my decimal point over one more time here to put it behind the 6. So I would get an answer of 6 from my divisor now. Now, let's apply that same concept to what's inside the house. My decimal point starts here. I move it over once, twice outside the house, so I need to do the same thing inside the house. Once, twice. When I do that, my decimal point is now going to be in between the 2 and the 7. The number inside the house does not have to be a whole number. Okay, we can have decimals inside the house just like we did in yesterday's video. So I move it over the same number from the outside and the inside, even if it doesn't match up that they're both whole numbers. It's okay if the inside number is not a whole number. From here, I would divide like normal, so I'd bring this up to the top, and now my problem becomes 6 into 32.7. I would like you guys to do this division right now without me, and we'll check to see if you have it done in class tomorrow.